Okay,
Look at that. Well, we're still holding up our force from the thumbnail.
Oh.
Welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead. I'm Papa Pepper. This is my lovely wife, Mama Pepper, and we have been on our property now, what, 3 years?
Just about 3 years in November, I think.
I think 2018. We moved this building that we're now standing in onto the property, and it wasn't too long after we moved it on that we got things situated and got moved in. Since beginning to work on this property, we've been so blessed, haven't we?
Definitely, yes.
A lot of the things we've done on this property have been a lot easier than they could have been. And in this video, we're going to go through 4 different things that have made it really amazing.
So these are not things that we planned at all when we moved here. And so as we look back, we can see the blessing of it all.
Yep, and we figured we'd just kind of point this out so anyone who's out there thinking about relocating, thinking about moving somewhere, can maybe consider these things ahead of time and see how well they worked out for us, and then potentially kind of have that in your game plan. Again, this is more hands-off for us. It was stuff that we weren't considering ahead of time, but now we can see like, wow, this stuff was awesome. So hopefully you guys enjoy this.
Number 1. Heavy equipment.
The first blessing required me to even change my mindset about things. Now, in general, I'm kind of a hands-on type person. So anytime you put something between you and what you're doing, it's kind of hands-off. If you gave me an axe and maybe a machete, I would gladly go to work on things. But I'll tell you what, when you're starting with raw land and trying to do as much with it as we've been able to, heavy equipment helps so much. Now, it's harder to focus on the detail for sure, but the amount of work that you can get done is astronomical, and it has been a huge blessing to be able to have people who actually have equipment available that are willing to share it. To acquire some of this stuff myself could easily cost tens of thousands of dollars, possibly even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And even if I was going to rent it, I could look at hundreds of dollars just for a day to get my hands on some of the stuff I've been able to do. From skid steers to tractors, mini excavators, front end loaders with backhoe attachments, concrete saws, heavy duty drills, all sorts of stuff has come in so handy. And because of the care and generosity of others, because they have it sitting there and appreciate us, and we have cool relationships, I've been able to use some of this stuff, and all of it was a learning curve too. I didn't really have experience even driving a skid steer, driving any sort of heavy equipment. I'm not all that comfortable on all of it, but I at least have some experience, and if put in a situation where I can use something like this, now I have a familiarity to it. It's really been a huge blessing, and super surprised. Not everywhere that we could potentially wind up in life would we live near anyone who has almost any of this stuff. So to have so many different people in our lives who own it, or even people who rent it and then have extra days on it, that are like, hey, would you like to use this for a bit because we have this as an option, that's often really kind of fell in our lap at the right time. And then I can often work things around when I know people are going to be able to share what they have. We try to live generously, bless others, whatever we have that we can, bless others with. We like to put it to use sometimes, even if it's just our personal time and effort. So it's cool to be in a situation where people are willing to share this type of stuff, and I can't even imagine how much less progress we would have had on our homestead without it. Sometimes even just borrowing a chainsaw before I had stuff that worked on my own. Just so much more has been able to get done because of things like this. We don't take it lightly, and I couldn't have planned it any better. You know, if I had a goal to try to position myself next to somebody who would have a bunch of equipment, it couldn't have worked out as good as what we have. And it's just kind of cool to be blindsided by such a thing as this, and then to be able to get all this work done, get all this experience, and be able to accomplish this.
Number 2. Rocks.
Yes, rocks. I don't think I ever really cared too much about rocks, but I was never really in a situation or scenario where I would just have an insane amount of rocks or a whole bunch of stuff that needed to get done. But I love rocks because they're pretty much free. They're indestructible to the most part. And yeah, they're rearrangeable as long as I'm not mortaring them together. So many different things we've been able to accomplish with them, from our rock pillar fences to using them as borders on the bottom of the fences, the raised beds in our garden we've been able to do out of rocks. I have a number of projects in the future I plan on putting in a rock wall and some other things. We've even made, play equipment for some of our animals, like when the lambs are born in the spring. And then inside the house, to make an entire backdrop and wall for the wood stove. It was intimidating because I never really did any masonry work before, but the resources, the price was right to be able to have all these amazing kind of uniform, same thickness, same color, rocks pretty much free down at the creek. Just awesome, worked out so good, and definitely has built me up a good amount of confidence that I can't wait to see what else we do with them in the future. In the garden, they work out so well because we can pretty much build as high as we want with these rocks, since we have all these different shapes and sizes, make our own raised beds, and change things if we need to, since I'm not mortaring that together. If I add another layer of soil or compost or rabbit manure to it, I can just build another layer up, make them all the deeper. We've used them as paving stones, kind of stepping stones through different parts of the garden. So many people look at stuff like rocks as a curse, and it's sad because they can really be a blessing, and whatever I have available, I'm going to try to evaluate and use to its fullest potential so that I'm able to receive the biggest blessing from it that I can. And that's what I've been doing with rocks. I've got an incredible rock collection. Definitely like what we've accomplished so far using them, and thankfully we have probably thousands and thousands of more rocks available to continue doing stuff.
Number 3. The lake.
Now, fishing is one of those things I could really do from anywhere, but to position ourselves unintentionally within 10 minutes of a pretty major lake is so awesome. These clips I'm showing aren't all from that particular lake, but there are a lot of the areas around here that we can go to, and then the lake being 10 minutes away just adds to it so much. Early on in our relationship, I taught Mama Pepper that when the fridge and the wallet get empty, it's time to go fishing, which is kind of a cool life principle I see coming to light more and more and more, meaning that the more we can get from the wild, the more that we can get from the natural world, from what God created, then the less we need to buy. And it's been a really cool learning experience, and amazing to be passing that not only on to my wife, but also my children now. So I grew up fishing, grew up eating fish, learned how to clean fish when I was younger, as a boy, and it's just kind of always been part of my life. It's becoming more of a part of my life now, though, because we have so many mouths to feed that we just need more fish to actually get a meal, which is a pretty good, cool challenge. Also, 3 years ago, I picked up bow fishing. Within the past month, I went to my first, freshwater spearfishing outing. I'm learning all these alternative methods for fishing too. So not only can we catch them on the rod and reel, I can shoot them with the bow and arrow. I can spear some of them underwater. We also have done some jug fishing and a little bit of trout lining. So it's just really cool to kind of explore more of the realm of even how to harvest fish. And then this year, one of my goals was really to learn the lake. I'm going to have to try again next year, but I want to make sure, when the white bass run, that I know how to catch them. I haven't caught those in years. When the carp and the suckers are spawning, it's time to go, bow fishing. I want to learn how to catch some striped bass and stuff too, but man, we got so many different ones, from the pumpkin seeds and the green sunfish, the red-eared sunfish, to the bluegills, the perch, all sorts of gar. We've got the smallmouth buffalo, quillbacks, the suckers, the carp, the largemouth bass. There's walleyes. There's so many cool fish available. Oh yeah, plus the trout and the smallmouth bass. That it's just such a wild time to be out there interacting in that way, because out of nowhere, these fish, which aren't all incredibly that big, are suddenly, fighting for their life, really, and they put up a good fight. It's a fun game of tug of war. When we are victorious, we get fed, and that's not always the case. It's hard to hook some fish. Sometimes they just steal your bait. You can't always even find where they are, so that's part of just kind of trying to live with the seasons, learn more of kind of the natural rhythm of the world, and understand more of the stuff. I'm blessed to be able to spend as much time down by the lake as I'm able to, and even more blessed to be able to be, teaching my children this, where Monster Truck now will clean fish. He knows how to scale them and head them and gut them, and now he's learning how to fillet them too. It's amazing just to watch that, and then also to not have to do all of that work myself. Then also with learning how to eat gar, and also that we can can suckers and carp, and pretty much have a canned tuna and canned salmon substitute. It's been an incredible learning experience, and there's stuff that I'm learning right now, even just pertaining to fishing, that my children grow up doing. And I think that's so cool, because that saves them at least a couple decades of ignorance of not knowing these things, that at least they'll have that from their youth, and if they ever need that information as they grow or later on, they're going to have it there. So to be out in the natural world, to be out swimming or by the lakes and be able to interact with the water, to be able to be out with the trees and the breeze and the sun, I love being outside. I've kind of spent a lot of my youth wild, running around by lakes and rivers and out in the swamp and things like that, out in the woods. So it's where I feel at peace and at home, and like being out there anyway. But how much more special is it when we can provide an incredible amount of food, not only for our family, but then also for others. With canning up extra, harvesting extra, we've blessed many other families, and I've actually started doing some bartering too, where one of the ways I can provide different things for my family is I can get this fish, we can can it up, and then we can trade jars with people for other stuff. That just, what a cool way to provide for your family, for sure. And I did not specifically think, hey, wouldn't it be cool to be about 10 minutes away from a lake when we were looking for where to homestead, where to buy our land. And like when the carp are spawning or other things are going on, there is actually weeks where it's not uncommon for me to 4 or 5 nights out of the week to be down at the lake. And also sometimes where, 4 or 5 days out of the week I can be down at the lake. Where it's not uncommon for me to, run out to the lake today, run out to the lake tonight, run out to the lake tomorrow, run out to the lake that night, and Mama Pepper's cool with that. There's times she wants me to go down there and go fishing. The children love it, and it's just a beautiful experience, and one of those unexpected blessings that we didn't think about ahead of time. But I present some of this stuff too to have you guys kind of think of it for anyone who's out there looking for land or considering where to live. These things can come in handy.
Number 4. Free sources.
Free sources has been one that has just been absolutely huge. I never thought there would be so many things available to us that we wouldn't need to spend money for. from free stuff in town like pallets, compost, and mulch, free stuff from friends who's blessed us with things, free stuff from work like various boards or sections of fencing, picket fences, or old metal. It has been so incredible. We've already covered rocks, which would also fit into the category of free sources, but I gave them just their own, categories. So many of the projects and the things we've been able to develop and work on has either been free stuff I've acquired, just living life, or things that people have been discarding. When I go to town, I try not to make empty trips. I try to get the most of what I can, so it's not uncommon for me to go to town with a trailer. Where we drop off our recycling, we can often get free wood mulch or free compost, which has blessed us so much in our garden because the natural, quote, soil around here is just rock and clay. So to have free wood mulch and compost is amazing. Often there's also piles of free pallets at some places I know. So those come in super handy as well. I definitely don't mind pulling a trailer behind me if I'm traveling somewhere anyway and filling it up with awesome free sources to use on our property. The line of work I'm into, a lot of times I'm fixing things. So often there's like an old fence that needs to be taken down, a new fence that needs to be put up. With our garden shed and with my wood shed, I've been able to just use sections of fence that we had to take down to put up and really frame in a building for some simple use. It's an easy wall that's already assembled. It's been so amazing. The free metal that I've got from work has often roofed almost every outbuilding we have right now. To buy, metal roofing is not exactly cheap. And some of the jobs that I do, we've taken down so much that it would have been worth it for me just to go to work for the sole purpose of getting the old materials, much less getting paid to do the job and then having the old materials to use here on our homestead too. I can't wait to see kind of some of the things moving forward because I've also got free gutters and downspouts and things like that I'm going to use for some water catchment. But so many of, I think like every outbuilding we have right now has been roofed with free metal that I was able to take home from work. Now, a cool thing too is that, yes, people have blessed us with some like dog kennel stuff. They've blessed us with other things that all get used, but there's also so many things that people discard and see as worthless. A number of neighbors that I have do periodical handyman work, so there's often what they would consider to be junk boards. I mean, some of these are 12-foot, like 2x6s. That's amazing, and if they've still got life in them, I have no problem grabbing them and applying, them to my projects here and getting that extra life out of something like that. People often say one man's trash is another man's treasure, and I completely believe in that because I'm willing to see the value in something. And if I see these things that are costing me nothing that I get to start with, that puts me ahead so far because I don't need to spend money or as much money on certain things to then use on my homestead to complete these projects. And even the stairwell for our root cellar, that whole thing was pretty much done with discarded bricks, discarded slabs of concrete. It's been amazing. Some of them I had to cut up into pieces, and I used some of those free heavy, equipment tools and stuff that were available to us to do that. But to me, I knew if I was going to pour concrete stairs down the thing, it would cost me a lot of money. I'd have to go earn a lot of money and then invest it into doing that. Or if I can take these discarded concrete slabs, form stairs out of them, it doesn't cost me much money to spend a day doing something. If I eat my meals at home, hang out at home, I'd rather use those free things in my time to get me to the same place that I could get quicker if I was willing to sacrifice days of my life to go pay to actually have it done. So both the stairwell to the root cellar with the actual stairs and then also the side walls to it, it's been amazing what I've been able to do with these free things. Moving down here and getting into these things, I didn't think about all that stuff ahead of time, but now when I see it played out and I look around my property and see just how many projects have been able to either include or really almost exclusively use these free sources, it has been massive, and it's definitely got us very far ahead of where we would have been if we had to buy every last thing to develop the different projects on our homestead.
Thank you all for watching once again. If there was something that you guys have seen on your life that you didn't plan for, that just kind of showed up as a blessing, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know. If you liked the video, give us a like, and we thank you for watching once again.
We'll see you guys next time. Mom out.